Thank you, everybody. So my topic is human flourishing, and why, if we're interested in human flourishing, we should require transhumanist flourishing. We're not going to survive the next few years and decades unless we augment ourselves wisely in a transhumanist way. A bit about myself, David Wood. There are many people here who study transhumanism a bit. I'm not just a student of transhumanism, I'm an advocate of transhumanism. Since 2006, I've been speaking publicly at events around the world about the value and importance of transhumanism. I've been involved in numerous transhumanist projects and events and books. But I am also a critic of aspects of transhumanism. I have heard already in this conference some criticisms of transhumanism, and I share some of these criticisms. Transhumanism is sometimes said to be a broad church. Well, there are aspects of it which are unhelpful. I talk about a transhumanist shadow, which is some of the same form but less of the important substance. My background is as a philosopher of science. I spent 4 years learning the difference between science and pseudoscience. And by the way, I have to affirm strongly, transhumanism is not a pseudoscience, despite what some ill-informed critics say. It is very much in the spirit of scientific process. Professionally, I have been a mathematician, a software engineer, a technology consultant, and a futurist. I was a futurist before I knew I was a futurist. I spent 25 years envisioning and helping to create some of the world's first handheld computers and then some of the first smartphones. The company I co-founded had their software in most of the first 500 million smartphones. I spent some time at Accenture too. And I learned some very important lessons during that period. The most important lesson is that it's very difficult to anticipate and manage exponential disruption, especially when humans are involved. It's the human angle that causes the biggest challenges, but also has the biggest opportunities. I saw tremendous change from the world of smartphones that I helped to create, but that is as nothing to the changes that are going to come in the next few years from artificial intelligence and other technologies. So for the last 16 years, I have been running London Futurists to have serious discussion on these points. And in the last 2 years, we have developed a highly rated podcast. Yesterday, I released its 101st episode. One of your takeaways from this talk should be to look up that podcast, where you'll find more details of many of the things I'm touching on. I'm the author of 14 books, some on the abolition of aging, the death of death, many other topics. But the book that is closest to what I'm going to talk about today is this one here. It's a big book, 642 pages, 942 footnotes, that will cover a lot of the gaps that I'm going to skim over in the next, not 942 minutes, but more like 9 minutes. Vital foresight. The case why everybody should become active transhumanists. So let's get to it. Human flourishing requires transhumanist flourishing. What I mean by that is the wise application of technological possibilities. We should not fight off technological possibilities, resisting it, but nor should we naively embrace it. We have to be wise in adopting it so that we can transcend some of our ages-old limitations, which may prove to be fatal in many ways in the highly disruptive changes ahead. The technological possibilities I have in mind, just to be clear, they've been a long time coming. And technological change, just like the early days of the smartphones, was often slow and frustrating and disappointing until whoosh, suddenly smartphones are everywhere. And in the same way, we are now seeing more and more AI appearing. And I am here to say there's going to be much more transformation from AI soon. And that's going to lead to transformations in many other technologies, such as nanotech, biotech, and cognotech. Nanotech is manipulating matter at the molecular level. And indeed, recently, AI was involved in the Nobel Prize for Chemistry. So earlier, there was a professor from Belgrade saying, AI is just a toy. A toy does not win the Nobel Prize for Chemistry. Get real, guys. This is big. It is changing things remarkably. Nanotech's going to transform our energy industry. It's going to transform manufacturing. It's going to transform recycling. AI is also going to ignite changes in biotech, which in turn will change agriculture, food preparation, and healthcare. And it's going to transform changes in cognitive technologies, which will, again, change how we are all educated, how we are entertained, and a fundamental part of our mental, spiritual self. It will change our spiritual experiences too. So all sorts of social changes as a result. I think, and it's hard to be precise about timescales for all kinds of reasons, but I think the next 2 or 3 years is going to see remarkable further changes in AI. The changes in these other technologies will take a bit longer because they involve changes in the physical world, which take a bit longer. But within 10 years, all these fields will be almost unrecognizable from their present situation. And people are going to anticipate this coming soon. Increasingly, people are talking about it. They're talking about it often in an ill-informed way, a panicked way. So we futurists need to get ahead of that conversation to help people discuss it wisely. And I applaud the organizers of this conference for participating in that broad discussion. Now, how could this unfold? Here's the positive vision that could be enabled by wise use of this emerging technology. I depict it as humanity being uplifted to a humanity plus state, sometimes called a 5S civilization. The first S is super longevity, significantly improved health and lifespan. Superintelligence means overcoming our tendencies to individual and collective stupidity, our cognitive biases, allowing us all to think more clearly and more accurately. Super happiness addresses aspects of what you might call the soul. It's what evolution has given us. Evolution has not given us a tendency to happiness. Evolution has given us a tendency to try and fight to get our genes propagated. So we are often depressed and exploitative and egotistical. But technology, used wisely, can help with that too. And it can transform how we relate together to stop the ages-old tendency to abuse power and deceive each other and ourselves. And very importantly, it transforms the narrative into one of a forthcoming superabundance, a transition in our human relationship with nature and the wider cosmos in a mutually sustainable way. That is possible, but it's by no means inevitable. And transhumanism, since the beginning, if I look at the Transhumanist Declaration in 1998, there are 8 clauses in that, and half of them talk about risks. There are lots of risks from misuse of technology, which could lead us into a kind of hell, humanity minus. I don't have time to go through all of this. I often spend hours talking with people. The professor from Belgrade was right in one aspect. Things are incredibly serious. We are absolutely obliged to harness the acceleration of technology, steering it towards desirable outcomes, and in other cases, encouraging even faster adoption. So, let's just quickly re-emphasize these principles. The things that are most important to bear in mind: there is a radical opportunity ahead. The near future can be much better than the present situation. It can be radically improved compared to what we've inherited. But at the same time, we could get much worse than the present situation. Powerful technology can have all kinds of catastrophic consequences. When I'm feeling optimistic, I sometimes say that by 2040, there's a 55% chance we'll be in that much better world, but nearly a 35% chance things will be much worse. The difference between these outcomes is not written in the stars. You can't find the answer by looking in the book of Daniel or the letter to the Corinthians. It depends on us here and now, our human agency. Are we going to be wise enough and strong enough to concert and make a difference to steer technology in that positive way? Sadly, Most of us are not engaged in that. Most of us are distracted. Most of us are confused. I've had a fair amount of distraction and confusion at this conference, to be frank. Well, we've got to move ahead, otherwise we will perish. There's a lot more I'd love to say to you. Read about it in my books. Come and talk to me about it afterwards. This is incredibly important. If we get it right, we could be living in a sustainable superabundance. If we get it wrong, it would be very bad for all of us. Thank you.